The tide, it appears to be turning against the state of Israel. Now, Israel continues to face backlash over the killing of 7 aid workers of the World Central Kitchen in central Gaza. The latest plea to halt the sale of arms to Israel has come from within its long-standing ally, which is the United States of America. Now, more than 36 congressional Democrats, including key Democrats such as Representative Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker and a key ally of Joe Biden, has now signed a letter to the American President and the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, urging to halt the transfer of weapons to Israel. The letter has also called on the United States of America to withhold future arms transfers pending a U.S. investigation into the airstrike on the World Central Kitchen's humanitarian workers, and if Israel fails to sufficiently mitigate harm to innocent Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Moreover, in a sign of Washington's growing impatience with Israel's handling of the military campaign, the American President Joe Biden had earlier issued what is being described as nothing but an ultimatum, a stark warning to the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, Biden has said that future American support for Israel's war in the Gaza Strip will depend on the swift implementation of new steps to protect Palestinian civilians and humanitarian aid workers. And remember, it is not just the United States, but also the United Nations Human Rights Council that has backed for a weapons ban to the state of Israel, although it is not binding. But in the 47-member nation Human Rights Council, 28 member nations voted in favor of the resolution demanding for an immediate ban of sales of weapons to Israel. 6 voted against, while 13 abstained in the vote.
We have voted in favor of this resolution. Finland urges Israel to comply with the full span of international humanitarian law and with the legally binding orders issued by the International Court of Justice, including the order issued on 28 March in view of the worsening conditions of life faced by Palestinians in Gaza, in particular the spread of famine and starvation.
Now, the Western countries were divided during the resolution. The United States and Germany, who account for the vast majority of Israel's arms imports, both voted against it. Germany said that it did so because the resolution did not explicitly condemn Hamas, while several others abstained, and some European nations, in fact, voted for the resolution. And India has also backed the resolution to ban the sale of arms to Israel. All right, now to give us more perspective on this, we're being joined in by Mr. Lester Munson, who is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Munson is a senior fellow at the National Security Institute and principal at the International BGR Group. Now, Mr. Munson, let me in fact start off by asking you this. The United States has in fact been backing the Israeli offensive in the Gaza Strip to the hilt. But in the light of the events that have come forth in the course of the last week, there are growing voices even within the United States of America, which are now demanding for a ban on the sale and transfer of weapons to the state of Israel. And this is something that is coming in from people such as Nancy Pelosi, who are such close allies and aides of President Joe Biden. How far do you think the American president is likely to consider these rising voices from within his own Democrat Party?
Well, he's going to have to consider them. They are coming from key members of his constituency. As you point out, Nancy Pelosi is a very significant figure in the Democratic Party. There are many progressives, that is the far left of the Democratic Party, who are also pressuring the president to curtail the U.S. relationship with Israel. I suspect at the end of the day, he is unlikely to actually do that. He will not stop U.S. arms sales to Israel, nor will he halt support for other Israeli activities on the ground. I think we will continue to see rhetorical support from President Biden for a ceasefire and for other humanitarian gestures in this situation. But I suspect at the end of the day, on the ground, the U.S. relationship with Israel will remain the same.
You know, it's interesting that you say it, but why do you say what you say, that he will continue to give rhetorical support, that is to make comments asking for a ceasefire, but not stop sending weapons. Because so long as the United States of America continues to keep sending weapons, that's actually validation for the state of Israel to be doing what it is doing. And especially in the wake of what has happened in the last few days, the bombing and the killing of the 7 aid workers has been described as an incident that is so egregious that some of the closest allies of Israel have now come forth and slammed it, and they've said that this is something that is simply unacceptable.
Well, I think the situation with the relief workers is indeed a tragedy. It's very unfortunate. One of them was an American. That certainly resonates in the United States, in addition to the other 6 individuals who were tragically killed. It was a mistake. Israel's apologized for it. At the end of the day...
But do you think an apology is enough in this case?
Well, they're also going to be investigating, as I understand it. It's a very unfortunate thing. This is what happens in war. And I think we all need to be realistic that on the ground, Israel's efforts to get to Hamas and eliminate it are going to have terrible consequences. That is true. At the end of the day, a majority of Americans support the relationship with Israel. The reason President Biden, I believe, will continue to rhetorically support calls for a ceasefire is because there are key constituencies inside his coalition who are very skeptical of the U.S. relationship with Israel. This includes Muslim Americans, particularly in the state of Michigan, which is a swing state for this upcoming presidential election, and also younger voters in America are less enthusiastic about the relationship with Israel. So President Biden has to both appeal to those specific demographics while continuing to support the overall relationship with Israel. It is a very difficult thing to do.
You know, but it is not just the Muslim voters who are outraged at what is happening. It's even the Jewish supporters and the Christian voters within the United States of America have expressed deep outrage in the manner in which the United States so far has given a sort of a blank check support to Netanyahu in his war. The question that I want to ask you is, do you think Joe Biden has effectively put his re-election on stake by backing Netanyahu in this war in the manner that he has done? And do you think Joe Biden is now likely to change tack?
Well, I do have to disagree with you a little bit. The broad support of American voters is for the state of Israel, kind of across most of these demographics. The president is very mindful of that. He is indeed in a very difficult position. I think what the administration is really hoping for is as quick a resolution to the Gaza fight as possible. I think that is true of other nations that are either explicitly supporting Israel or supporting Israel behind the scenes. The longer this goes on, the more politically difficult it is for some of these countries that are democracies to support Israel. That is very true. The president is in a difficult political position. But I do think it's important to note, at the end of the day, most American voters are very supportive of a strong U.S. relationship with Israel and support Israel in this conflict.
All right, it's interesting that you continue to insist that most American voters are, but looking at the protest rallies that have been held in different cities across the United States of America, a lot of voters, of course, would consider whether they should, of course, be voting for the president incumbent if he does not, of course, change his tack. Thank you very much, however, Mr. Mansur, for joining us and getting us all those insights there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.